Hey, time to shine today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson here, and I am so blessed to be able to bring you an awesome conversation with somebody that I immensely respect, Ron Macklin from Macklin Connect. And he's a coach that I look up to, that I learn from. And if you're really looking to, if you're stuck somewhere or you're looking to level up your life to get to where that you can get to, you're just not sure of the path or you need a guide, please listen to this. Break out your notebooks, sit back, relax, because Ron basically maps it out in our 30-minute conversation. So if you like this, please hit the like and subscribe. It really helps the sponsors and affiliates. Or for somebody that needs to hear it, please share it with them. The value in this conversation is above reproach. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, Ron Macklin from Macklin Connect. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I have a interview that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And you wait till you hear this guy's voice. It's like we're the exact yin and yang and opposites, where he's really chill and so well spoken with the perfect podcast voice. And then you know me, I'm the boomer. But he is a fantastic podcast that's ranked in the top 10. And make sure you listen to it. I'll put it in the show notes, but don't go there right now. It's called The Story in Your Head. Just really fun knowledge nuggets, educational, that's just out there, and he just kicks butt on the mic. He not only that, he's from the page to the stage to the mic. My guy Ron here is just fantastic. And I am talking about Ron Macklin from the Macklin Connection. He's a husband, father, son, recovering engineer, student, leader, guide, entrepreneur, investor, human, minus self, and passionate about life, and all that we in awe as an AWE that we are living in and wonder for how life works. And he reminds us that as humans, we are not meant to survive on our own. This is true in all aspects of life, especially in business. By changing your company culture through communication and connection, your company can begin to thrive. And Ron, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Thanks, Scott, and thank you for the show and everything that you do.
Yeah, man.
I'm a big fan. So
Thank
my
you.
favorite color is probably blue.
Blue.
That's not probably. It is blue. Let's be committal here, right? Commit to this thing. Yeah.
There we go. Just well, this weekend it's got to be that ocean of red, right? Because my man here
Well,
lives in
now
Kansas.
my favorite color doesn't mean that's my favorite team, right?
Go Chiefs!
Go
Beat the
Chiefs.
Niners, please. I love
Yes.
it. I love
Uh,
it. So, Ron, I see that you're a recovered engineer,
Recovering
basically.
engineer. Yeah.
Let's get to the roots, man. Talk to me a
Uh,
little bit.
so, like when I started out, my father was an engineer, so I grew up in a world like I was going to become an engineer, right?
Sure.
And then I kept hanging out with my grandfather on the farm, right? And I love farming. I love being out in the woods and being in the trees and working on stuff, right? And then I studied farming and agriculture for one semester, and I go, "Ooh, I don't want to do that, right? Oh, no, that's not my game." So I go, "Well, I'll fall back to engineering." And then I went and learned all the engineering, got a degree in engineering. But I was able to recover because engineers, like they're in a world of like these things are things and things are real and things are fixed and permanent. And I'm more of a language guy. Like we make up stories. In fact, we can bring language is generative.
Yeah.
When like my favorite line is like, and on the third day, God said, "Let there be light." He didn't say, "Oh, and there's the light," right? He
Right.
goes, "No." He said, "Let there be light."
Yeah.
And I hold language as generative, and it's kind of different than engineering. So I always called myself a recovering engineer because what is important to me is not the piece of equipment outside of us,
Right.
but the stories we have in our head.
Right.
Why the podcast is called that, and how we can relate to each other and be open and trusting and really like authentic with each other. Which authentic is like you're authoring your life. You're responsible and creating and authoring your life. And now we can do that with another person, like we're going to do here today.
Yeah.
And what you produce is amazing.
Yeah. What we're going to put out here is going to be just straight fire. So the engineer, I got kind of funny stories with engineers because I was a real estate broker for 20 years. And with all due respect, engineers would be the worst clients to have. I mean, they always had perfect credit, they always got the best rates, they always found a house quickly, right? But it
Yep.
was the contract, dude. They would read every word in it. And that I learned to get along with. Some of my greatest clients were engineers.
Yep.
Some of my best coaching clients are engineers.
Yep.
So it was just a lot of fun. I just had to throw that little humor out there, brother.
No, I get it. I was surrounded and been around engineers my entire life, coached many of them, managed many of them, led many of them,
Yeah,
and it's they can struggle with the whole space of it's just stories, man.
right.
It's just stories. Technology is the story in your
Yes.
head that enables you to do something,
Yes.
and they go, "Whoa,
Love
I hadn't
that.
thought of that, man." Like I was like it shocked them. I go, "Yeah." So as if you leave a company, you take the technology that you have in your head with you.
Yes,
And that's
absolutely.
the stories that are in your head.
I love it. And I love it. So many people listen to themselves, right? Instead of kind of talking to themselves. And a lot of my clients, they kind of get stuck with that. And I love, like, you actually did one a while back about kind of something like that in one of your shows. And I just really picked up on that. And it's something that I learned from my friend John Gordon, who wrote the Energy Bus and stuff like that. But that was just amazing. So, what are you a consultant, coach, consultant? Like, what is kind of your role in that
Coach,
world?
coach Sultant. I
Yeah,
like that.
well,
I haven't
I'm a
heard that word
coach,
before.
man. It's like
Yeah.
I
So I am a coach. Now,
okay, very
sometimes I
good.
call myself a guide
Okay,
because it's a little different distinction between coach
sure.
and guide, but I am a guide. So I
Mm,
normally business owners, group owners, executives. This is my space that I coach.
I think
But
you
I
said
also,
guide.
because it's
Close.
like just to coach to one person in the top of the organization can be limiting. So
Yes.
we have our programs that we have in Macklin Connection that
Hmm.
enable like middle and be, like people to, at the first level in, right?
Right.
They can begin to learn those stories in a way that the whole organization can flip. But
Yes.
it takes the top person has to say, we're going to do this,
Yeah.
right? But you
Yeah.
also have to have something for the other people. And it's the hardest to move in that world is the ones in the middle,
Yes.
right? Because they're going like they're the, I don't know, they're the most at risk, they tell themselves,
Right.
right? But if you have it all three levels, like the top end, the middle, and the beginning level,
Sure.
then the culture can begin to take off and flip itself really quick.
Love that you said that because, like, I was on the plane the other night flying back to Palm Beach and I was going through, I like to do like deep dives on stuff. And I was like, he's developing intrapreneurs, right? It's like they don't own the business, but they own their business
They
within the
they they,
business. Did I
they
get
own
that
their
right when I
yeah
read
they
that?
they own their part of the business.
Yes. That's
They own it. It's theirs. It's to create, and that's what's. I mean, if you had to say what is the fifth business revolution going on right now, and that is people are beginning to take ownership of their area, their own, and they
yes.
create it. Right. It happened. You can read about Team of Teams. Right. That's the book out from the war in Middle East, but you can also read it like in reinventing organizations. People are really beginning to get to the place where people can like let people create their own worlds
Sure.
inside of a group that takes care of their concerns. So then it becomes real important for whoever's on top to be the visionary,
Right.
to like to say, we're going to go this direction. We're going to be this. We're going to do that. And then that's a whole different world than telling people what to do.
100% true, Ron. And I love also that you said guide instead of coach because I'm blessed to have in-person coaching here in South Florida. I put them in their car, put them in the driver's seat. And I want to see how their car looks on the inside because you can tell a little bit as you kind of get to know each other how someone keeps their car. And I say, listen, this rearview mirror right here, this is small for a reason. It's a great place to visit and learn from, but that's therapy. I can't help you there. This windshield is huge. It's big. It's
It is
scary.
huge.
And since 2011-ish, or maybe before, they have every car has installed this thing called the GPS. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm guiding. Okay, but I cannot take responsibility to buckle your seatbelt if you so choose to start the car and drive. But I love that you
Yep.
said guide because that's all GPS is a guide.
It's a guide.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
we can be the guy. We can't, like, I won't make, and I won't do it for them. I won't tell them what to do. The GPS doesn't say
Thank
turn your
you.
car and go this way, right? It's a
Yes.
space where they have to make their own decisions. And I'm real picky about that because I want it to be theirs.
Yes.
Because whether it works or it doesn't work is depends not on what the choice is, but how committed you are to it.
Yes. Do they?
Right. So now like when they say, okay, I choose this, okay, your choice. You right. And then it'll get done.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you for saying that, brother, because everybody knows what they want. They just don't know how to talk themselves into it, right? That's where they bring people like you and I in. And all the challenges that are reside in that heart, the answer's there too. We're just there to guide them. And if
Yes.
you and
Yep.
I were to say, go do it this way, we start consulting them and it doesn't work, they'll come back and say, Ferg, you suck. It didn't work. But they'll, like you just said, they'll see it through more with our kind of push a little bit to see
It's
through what they want.
our guidance, right?
Yes.
But to say, here's the options and your choices, and then let them sit in the responsibility, because it's that
Yes.
responsibility that gets like for me as an individual, the responsibilities that I hold are what shape how I take action.
One of my questions for you is that because you mentioned the word responsibility a lot in your
I do.
podcasts, in your writings and stuff like that. So what's your definition of responsibility?
Responsibility, it means I am the one who is going to and like hold the consequences of getting something done.
Strong.
Right. And there's a way that like you can say, oh, I have the responsibility. Right. There's also a way to go like, I get to have the responsibility
Get
of
to.
my
Thank
life.
you.
And it's a space where
Yes.
people go like, well, isn't responsibility a burden and bad? No.
No.
Right. It's there are a lot of people in the world that would love to have the responsibility to create their own life.
Boom. Thank
Right.
you.
And
Yeah.
we get that. Right. And we have that responsibility, and it's a joy. It's fun.
Yes. I
It's a
love
great
that.
place to be.
Yeah.
Right. And remember, we create language and it generates a world. And so I choose to love responsibility.
Yes. Love it. Yeah, 100%. I mean, responsibility to me is the ability to respond. It's really rooted in that word. And it was taught to me by Rod Harrison, a coach that
Yep. That's
sat down
great.
with me
I love it.
years ago. So then if you're maybe in a chat with a client, or maybe they're still just a prospect, maybe you're
Okay.
discovering, you start talking through, and what do you, is there any secret sauce you can share with us, Ron, that is maybe to help them shine the light on that blind spot that they have?
Yeah. So first, I'm always looking at like, what are the stories they have in their head? Like, literally, just let them tell their stories. Like, what is the story?
Yes.
What's going on right there? Right. And then the secret sauce is, and normally I have a name for it. I either go with the elderberry wand or a magic wand, right? But inside space, right? And then I say, okay, I've got the elderberry wand, which is the most powerful wand from Harry Potter, right? And I
Okay.
hand it to him and I go, okay, if you had a magic wand and you could make all of this happen, what would it look like? And then let
Strong.
them create something that's like they go, well, all those things that they've had their stories in their head about, I can't do this, I can't do that. They won't ever do this, they won't ever do that. They take those away and they create a vision of where they want to go and what they want to
Ron, that
do.
is so strong.
That opens up a space where they go, I go, okay, now what's no, I say, give me the wand back. It's right now.
Dude, I'm sorry. That was awesome metaphor.
What is your barrier? Like what's keeping you from doing that?
Yeah.
And then we work on those things.
Wow. That
But you got
is,
you got to have a vision.
yeah, strong
Yeah.
metaphor to use to realize that vision that they have. And then you as a coach can help guide them through that. That's amazing. I'm not gonna steal that, but I have some
Oh,
ideas
steal
of
it,
some
man! Come
metaphors for
on.
me, brother. Because
If it
sometimes I'll
works,
get stuck.
if it
That's my
works,
weakness
use it.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So maybe if you're in this discovery conversation, Ron, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
One of my favorites, and I do occasionally get it, but not normally. Right? It's what are you afraid of?
Yeah, I love
Right?
it.
Because we talk about fear, we talk about all this stuff, right? And they go, "What are you afraid of?" Because
Right.
and what it shows up for me is they've gotten in their own heads and they're thinking about their fears, and they look over there and they go, "I don't think he's afraid of anything."
Mm,
Right? And they go, "So what are you afraid of?" And then I share what it is I'm afraid of. Like, what are my
love it.
fears? Well, like, and they're real. And my ground is the more powerful person I've met equals also the person who's most willing to talk about their fears.
Yeah, they do.
Right.
Yeah,
And every time you meet somebody, you go like, oh, these people are really powerful. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm blown away. Right. And pretty soon you realize, oh my gosh, they're talking about their fears, just like
right.
normal people like you and me and everybody else. And I go, right. So then I don't think it's because they finally got successful they can talk about their fears. They got
Yeah,
successful because they can talk about their fears.
right.
So being able to share your fears and speak them out loud, very, very powerful.
That's huge. Yeah, speaking
Put
the
put it
fears out loud.
when you describe it, you take away the power of it.
Oof.
right?
Truth.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you're afraid of, describe it out loud to everybody else, and the power goes away. Your fears are still there. The power's gone.
Power's gone. Yeah. And without power, they can't really
It can well,
motivate through. Right.
you can now go take the actions you want to take. You can be responsible to take those actions
Yeah.
because even though you're still afraid,
Love
right?
it.
But you now that doesn't have the power over you.
Love it. And so what do you feel that your strengths are in coaching then?
I'm a very strong listener. Maybe one of the biggest aspects of like
Yeah.
all my coaching is listening.
Yeah.
And listening is so we have several metaphors we use, but it's to get to nothing,
Right.
right? Which is a Heideggerian term, but it's to get to nothing, which is like we can't ever do it. But how do we get all those things out of our head as we can, so we can actually listen to what they say? Now, if we hold their story, right, what they care about, what they're after,
Right.
and then we really listen from nothing, we can notice things inside of what they're doing that they can't notice. Like I can't notice because I'm too busy being me, right? But we can really be in that space to be a really powerful listener. And that's
Right.
one of my, well, that is by, well, I say that, but also many of my clients have said, you're an amazing listener.
Right. I also think you're probably super curious as well.
It's true.
Yeah, I can definitely see
Guilty.
that. Yeah, guilty.
Yeah.
So how about weaknesses? What do you really work to level up in your coaching game?
That's a great question. That's the line you say when you're thinking about something, right?
Right.
That's a great question.
Like, why is this idiot asking me this?
That's
Jerk.
space, right? Weaknesses are when I can't get to zero, can't get to nothing. Like I have my own stories inside, like, well, he needs to do this or he needs
That's
to do that.
transparent, dude.
And I just kind of, boom, it comes in through and I go,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, that's my own stuff coming out.
Right.
And it's a real weakness, but I'm getting better.
Good.
Like
Yeah.
I'm really getting better at this.
Right.
It's a space that when I'm doing that, I'm really adding no value to the world.
Yeah.
But I am,
Absolutely, brother.
I am in my own head,
Right.
right? Right, just busy way. And so building the skill to notice that, to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one of my weaknesses, watching those stories come in.
Yeah. That's thank you for
Or
being transparent with that. And mine is really wanting to finish their sentence. And not
yeah,
a guide, but more of like somebody that's telling them. Sometimes I have to catch myself, and I've been really getting a lot better with that. I remember this is 15 years ago, and I was going through coaching school, and they're like, after you had to do it coaching in front of people, then teachers be like, "You are a great consultant, Scott, coach." And I was like, "What does that mean?" So I'm just trying to help them, and I realized that's amazing. So, Ryan, have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
oh yeah.
Okay. So let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, man. Let's go back to the Double
Ooh.
Deuce, the 22-year-old Ron. What kind of knowledge nuggets would you drop on him? I'm not asking you to change anything, but maybe help him shorten a learning curve,
Ooh,
level
to
through in
shorten the
class
learning
two.
curve when I was 22.
Yeah.
So I was about to graduate college,
Okay.
right? Some of the truth bombs I would drop on him is uh like figure out how to make your money work. Not
Unpack
just
that, man.
not just earn money,
Yeah.
but have your money, your currency work. Right? Not just put it in savings, not just invest it in
Yeah.
401k, all that kind of stuff, but make it really work. I would say figure that one out. Like I'm not going to give them direction. I'm not going to go at 22 and say, drop on and say, here to go do this, go invest in that, or here's the what is it, the sports playbook from Back to the Future 2. Right? No, not
Yes.
that, not
With
that.
Biff.
I say, look, figure out how to make your money work. Right.
Okay.
And then the second thing I would say is, which it took me a lot of years after that before I figured it out. Everybody out there is just as afraid as you are.
Yes.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you that you're afraid.
Yes.
It's normal.
Yes. Yeah. And
Because for 15 years between that 22 till the time I finally met and Dr. Bowen White and actually had that story told to me, like I was hard on myself. I
right.
was miserable.
Yeah. That's super transparent. I mean, you're just an open book. This is beautiful. And a lot of, I'll tell people that my good friend Leah Woodford would say, it's okay to be afraid, but don't let it stop you and get your asking gear. She would say, get your asking gear, ask. There's people out there that just
Yeah.
want to share, man,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. So how does Ron want his dash remember that little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, life date and death date? Hopefully it's way down the line. But how does Ron want his dash remember?
Kind of, I think you said at the beginning, right? Storyteller.
Yeah.
Yeah, storyteller.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I hold that it's the only tool we as humans have.
Yeah. Truth.
storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm working at it. I love doing it. Nothing can reshape a world faster than a really good story.
Really good story. I mean, no matter where it is, whether it's a book, a movie, telling it on stage, whatnot, you can lock them in, and you can tell the people that are passionate about the storytelling part of things, on adding the fables and whatnot. So that's fantastic. So, Ron, if people were to really know you, if you were to really know me, you would know what?
So if they would like, they really got to know who I was.
Yeah, if they really knew Ron
Um,
Macklin.
well, what they say they're most surprised about is how much I care.
Yeah.
Like they meet me and I can be like, I'm also 6'4", 200. I was a
Yeah, I saw a
lineman in
picture.
college.
You're a
Yeah,
tall
yeah,
dude, man.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's like I'm a big guy, right? And also I have this crease in my forehead, right? So it can look like I'm really serious all the time, right? Like really intense, right?
Right, right.
And they go, no, you're really, you care a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I'm up to. I want to make a difference, and I'm willing to take the time to go learn to be able to make a difference for somebody.
Hmm.
But also knowing my favorite Abraham Lincoln quote: "You can't really help somebody for doing for them what they should do for
Shoot
themselves."
for themselves.
So
Yeah.
being helped doesn't mean doing it for them.
Right.
It means helping them figure out how to do it for themselves,
Right.
right? And yeah, that's what
I
come to
love
find
that
out is they go really care.
you said that because I would almost, I think you and I might get it a little bit because I'm 6'1". I go about 235 and pretty well put together guy. But I'm also from the Midwest like yourself.
Yep.
And so when I come down here to Florida on the East Coast, where everyone from Brooklyn and Boston and stuff like that come down here, I still go in for hugs, right? And they'd be like, dude, big guy. Eh. So I'm like, I had to realize, I had to do a deep dive. I'm like, why don't these people like me? Come on, Scott. Like, and it was because they all live on top of each other. You give them their space from jump, from start. Then like some of my best friends now are from like Brooklyn. Like they take me home with them and like feed me and stuff. But just getting to learn that, I think that you and I might get misunderstood because we're bigger guys a little bit, especially me because of my booming voice. Like you calm people down from jump just with like your
Well,
voice, man.
Scott, that's once I speak, right? But I could be that guy standing there with the stone face, right? And the scowl look between his
Yes,
the crease right there,
I get that too, man.
and
I
they
get
could
that.
go like, "Ooh, he's serious,
Right.
man." Ooh.
I enjoy kava, which is it's a root. I affectionately call it liquid Xanax, and it is like I'll sit there and it's a very chill place. It's a bar, but it's South Florida. They're everywhere, and I'll be working on something. I have that, and the owner will be like, "Dude, you're in a kava bar for work," and I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm doing it." So it's awesome. So anything,
Worried about what my kids, like the challenges that they're into. I have
yeah,
3 kids,
okay.
right? And they're working it, right? All of them. But
You
I
gotta
worry
let
that
them do that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, they're working it, and you got to let them go out and make their mistakes and do all they
Yeah,
do. But it's also like the world seems like a more complicated place than it did
it
when
was.
I
Yeah,
was
it
growing
is.
up, right?
Yeah.
And
How
it's
old are
just
they?
late 20s, early right at 30.
Yeah, mine's
Right.
29, so it's like,
So they're in the space, they're in the world, right? And the college degrees, all that kind of stuff, right? But they're trying to figure out what do they want to do. And
world's
I think they're
punching them in
also
the mouth, metaphorically. Yeah.
yeah, they're also
Hmm.
trying to figure out like is marriage yes, no? Is there kids yes, no? And there are all those challenges. And it keeps me up to where like the stress that they must be feeling right now.
Yeah. Oh, and
Yeah.
you put
That
it on your big shoulders too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also the other thing that keeps me up at night is Connie and I, my wife,
Huh?
we still have 4 parents open. Like they're still up and living and they're all in mid 80s.
Yeah.
And so there's a space like how do we be of help without trying to take away their freedom and their responsibility and there's all that stuff and be with
Yeah.
it for them. Yeah. So it's a in fact we renamed it this morning. We shifted it from being it's a situation to it's an adventure, right?
Have
Because
to.
that
Yeah.
language shapes a whole new world for how to look at what your parents are going to go through. It's an adventure,
Yeah.
and we're here to help, but we're also we can't do it for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You know, my dad literally, who is 6'4", mountain of a man, and he just had an AFib issue this weekend, and I'm freaking out because he's my hero. He's my rock. It's like nobody
Yeah,
can beat your dad up. It's like crazy, right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. That's crazy. So, Ron, then I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but what is your definition of a life well lived?
I contributed to the world and made it a better place with the things that I've worked on and created to help my own self live a life. And I made a difference for enough people that like I can say this was a life well lived.
That's beautiful. That's
And now
beautiful.
it's I'd like to live long as I can contribute to the world, right?
Ooh, yeah,
Right, right. So the my one of my favorite quotes, and I don't know where I saw this, but
sure.
it was a cartoon and this young woman walking down the street, and the young woman asked the old woman, "What was life's greatest burden?" And the old woman says, "To have none to carry."
Yeah,
And I go, I don't want to be in a place where I can't carry a burden. I don't want
right.
to be in a place. I want to be able to contribute to the world. I want to make a difference.
Yes,
And
which you
when
are.
when I
So,
can't do that, I think I'm done.
yeah. I think you're going to do that into your 90s, dude. Just because your voice is going to, it's in storytelling ability, you're going to be able to do it for a very long time. And so,
Okay. So
and
will you. And
yes, we both will. We'll be
we'll be
side by side.
booming into our 90s.
Time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Ron, I'm definitely gonna. I know that I'm speaking in Kansas this year, so I'm gonna give you notice and love to meet
Yes,
up with you. Maybe grab some of the
absolutely.
barbecue and probably talk about a few of these questions at length. But today, through our lightning round, you get 5 seconds with no explanations, and I promise they can all be answered that way.
Okay.
Ready to level up? Here we go. All right, Ron, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Um, go all in.
Yes. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Keeping my body fit.
Ah, there you go. Super critical. So see me kind of walking down the street and you're like, man, Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. Other than Everyone is Afraid, what book might you hand me to help me level up or one that maybe flipped a switch in your brain back in the day?
The tree of knowledge, man. That one
Oh,
there just rocked
yes.
my world. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So what's your most commonly used emoji, if any, when you text?
Normally it's thumbs up.
Okay, very cool.
That's it, right? Just thumbs
Yeah.
up. Occasionally it's that eyebrow up.
Yeah, people's eyebrow kind of thing.
Yeah.
Love it. So nicknames growing up?
Big Mac. All
Yeah.
right. And Muffin Man.
Love it. Love it. So any hidden talents or superpowers that you have that nobody knows about until now?
I crazy. I do love to crochet.
Really? That's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm gonna show you when we're done. I literally got a crochet kit, bro. Like, cause I want to learn. It
Yeah.
slows me
No,
down. It's almost meditative for me. I
oh,
think
it
it's
is
good.
meditative. You just
Yeah.
kind of keep going and
Yeah.
make a hat or a pair of gloves or
Very
something else,
cool.
right? But it just keeps,
Awesome.
and it's good for the
Hands. Yeah,
fingers.
man. Yes. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Neither. Go.
I love it. Headline for your life.
Headline for my life. Ooh, that's a really tough one. Headline for my life is it was a good ride.
Good, right? I love that, man. Go to ice cream flavor.
Oh, vanilla.
Me too, dude. Absolutely. There's a sandwich called the Big Mac Muffin Man. Build that sandwich for me, man. What's on that sandwich, brother?
Oh, it's gotta have lots of Italian sausages and Italian seasonings and stuff like that. It's gotta have lettuce, gotta have tomato. It's gotta have some oil and pepper on it.
There you go.
And I'd say not healthy, but bacon.
Yeah, man candy.
Like
You have to have man candy
gotta
on there.
have
I was
some
going to
bacon in
add
there.
that if you didn't. That's awesome. Beautiful. Favorite charity and or organization that you give your time or money to?
Well, we've always done stuff for the Catholic Social Services stuff,
Nice.
and it's a great question because I've given to several,
Yeah,
and I'd say
that's
I
fine.
don't have really a favorite at this time.
No, very good. Very good. Last question. We can elaborate on this one, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Well, I don't know. I'd say the 70s.
70s. But I graduated in 90s, so 80s was kind of my thing, right? And I
Yeah.
love the 80s, but the 70s are storytellers
Yes.
all through the 70s,
Yeah.
right? From
So yeah.
Croce to the
All the
Eagles.
Billy Joel, the Piano Man,
Boom.
all these are
Yeah,
great stories
dude.
in those songs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Leonard Skinner.
Oh
Oh my
yeah. All
gosh,
day.
I just love that music. Yeah.
Kansas,
And
Boston, Styx, every one of them had stories in it.
Journey, everybody.
Even John Denver, bro. I mean,
Oh
everybody
yes.
had stories. When I'm editing a podcast or when I'm building my show notes, I always have I Heart 70s on, right? That's my thing. Like, because it's just one my mom passed on a few years ago, and like she would always play the 70s and we'd always kind of dance around to the stuff, but that just kind of puts me in just a really cool chill bill. vibe. So,
Yeah, no,
Ron,
it's great music. They're
how
all
can we?
good, but that's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
favorite.
absolutely. How can we find you, my friend?
The best way to reach me is send me an email at ron@macklinconnection.com, right? Or you can always go to Macklin Connection, excuse me, macklinconnection.com, fill out a form there. I'll get in touch with you. Or you can go to our .mn.co and make
Okay.
an application, and we'll let you into the community, and you can find me there.
Gotcha. Donnie, please make sure you get that link for that. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Awesome. So let's talk about your book a little bit
Yeah.
here. Everyone is Afraid, A Fable of Fear, Friendship, and Flourishing. Like it looks like it dropped around October last year.
Yeah, October 5th, I believe.
Okay. So tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about it. I read a little bit and I'm gonna
Yeah.
probably finish it on my flight tonight. So it's
Yeah. So part of my stand in life is that everybody is afraid, right? And we
yeah,
put the book title on there because we wanted people to be able to look at the title and go, I don't know, should I read this? I don't know, looking around a little bit, right?
yeah,
Because it takes a little courage to open up a book that's called that. And that's
that
what
is
we're
awesome,
looking
dude.
for, right? We're looking for somebody who's going to be committed into this. And we created a story that's basically set with people who are in their 30s,
Perfect. Yeah.
right? They're in their 30s, they've been out of school, they're probably married, they may have some small kids, maybe they don't, right? And all the stuff that they thought was working out was going to work out hasn't. And the reasons that it hasn't is because they thought they had to do it on their own.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a place where, like, one of them, not a spoiler, but one of them's not in good shape, right? And in that space, now it's about how everybody goes through, and there's six characters. One doesn't make it, and the rest of them discover like what has happened in their lives, that like they lost touch with each other, they all those things that are
Yeah.
happening, and it really takes it to where it's kept them from being successful
Wow. Yeah.
because they haven't connected with people. They haven't
Community is
realized
huge,
how to
bro.
open up and be in the world with folks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wrote that book because that's what made the biggest difference for me.
Yeah.
I've had people ask me, so which character is you? I go, dude, they're all me.
Right. Thank
Every one of
you.
these people
Thank
is me in a
you.
different version, different time.
Yeah, I love that because one of my parable is basically a real estate broker who loses a huge deal and he's going to quit the business. So he goes to his millennial broker and the millennial's just going to write him off and said, like, he'd be like, wait a minute, my dad told me if I was to ever want to quit to talk to these five people. And all five of the lessons are me that I've learned. So he meets a Navy SEAL, somebody that I served with in Iraq that in real life that I learned a ton from, right? He meets a skater, like one of those skaters that wrote a skateboarder, like, hey, you
Yep.
have to stay present in the moment when you're 20 feet above the pipe,
Yes,
just stuff
yes.
like that. So it was like, there's five in mine too, or you had six, but one passed on, you said in yours. So we're thinking along the same
Yep.
wavelengths with that, just different lessons one of them is a community. It's huge. Community is absolutely critical for success in life. To have true success, to me, I think
Yep.
community is critical.
That's what part of what they discover is that it's not just that they're afraid, it's that they when they talk to each other, the power of the fears go away, and having a community to talk about all your stuff puts you in a place where you can take the actions and be responsible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that you wrote this on the tail end. I don't know if you heard of coronavirus.
Uh-huh.
Have you heard
Yeah, I've
about
heard
it?
that.
You
Yeah.
heard it a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, a little bit of
Like,
it.
seriously, I'm glad that you wrote that. Did anything that happened during that time, like, kind of really put it on steroids and move it forward for you to write this book? Because obviously, a lot of community was cut off for a little bit.
Yeah,
Or was it always in
I
you?
think it actually gave me the space,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It actually gave me the space to
Yeah.
say, okay, now like we can't do these things, we can't do that thing, you're sitting there looking at like, what do you want to do? And you go, this is it, this is the
Right.
time.
It's
And
only so many
it wasn't,
Zooms
yeah,
you can get
yeah,
up.
right. I
Yeah.
wasn't a person who wanted to write a book. I didn't grow up
Sure.
wanting to write a book,
Right.
right? But when like all of a sudden there came a point in my life when I go, these people need this story.
Yeah.
And I held that I learned something when it came through a story, not being told what it was.
Right.
So I created a story for people to discover stuff.
I love it. I
That's what a
love it.
fable
And thank
does.
you for writing it, Ron, because people need this. They
Thank you.
need it. And as a thank you to the listeners out there, that anybody that puts Mac Connect, MACK Connect. I don't care if it's Pinterest, Instagram, email it to us. Text it to 561-440-3830. The first 5 people that puts Mac Connect into anywhere, I'm going to get you a book mailed out to you on Time to Shine Today's Dime. And so I just feel so, and again, with all due respect to Ron, I should have read this book already. I've just read the intro, the first little bit that was allowed on the Kindle sample. And it moved me just from that. So, and I can't wait to get on when I'm on the plane today. I'll probably be texting Mac tonight saying, dude, this is awesome book when I land. Hopefully it's not too late. But no, seriously. And Ron, if you could do me one last solid and leave the squad with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
One last nugget, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We live in this language, right? This stuff. And if we have the space that the other person's afraid, just as much as I'm afraid, who would you create them to be before you start to talk to them? So say this person is scared. He's amazing. He's creative.
Yeah.
He's curious.
Yeah.
Say that story. Now you can say it in your own head or you can say it out loud.
Yeah.
Either way, but don't just drift into the conversation without creating the other person.
Love it. I love it. And that comes straight from curiosity too. We have to be strong, curious. And squad, I have 3 pages of notes, squad, out here. I know that if you're listening, you have been too. He's a guy that had no agriculture. He passed down that. He wanted to really learn how to relate and be authentic with other people. Like community is absolutely key. It's huge throughout life, throughout anything. Having that solid community where all cogs, like he said, can start working together is absolutely critical to the human race. And I'm so glad we have somebody out here like Ron that's really getting that out there. And he's doing it through teachable lessons, through responsibility, is knowing that you're going to hold those consequences and that you get to hold those consequences. Really accept that. And Ron reminded us that a great coach is going to provide a safe space to let them tell their story. His magic wand metaphor was absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm going to implement that into certain clients of mine that will actually need it. And ask your coach, what are you afraid of? What are their fears? So it'll humanize them a little bit and know that they can really lean into knowing that they're really leaning into being coached. And I can just picture Ron coaching somebody. He listens not only with his ears, but with his eyes. It actually, basically what I call listening with his neck. I can just really see him leaning in, slowing everything down in that safe space and getting them into a solid transformation. When everybody is afraid, everybody's out there, lean into your fears. And like Leah Woodford would say, my good friend, get your asking gear. There are support systems. Like my good friend Ron here has his wife, Connie. He's got his other support system. He's out there planting trees this dude's probably never going to sit in the shade of. And I love to surround myself with people like him because not only that, he's doing it for the intention, not the attention. Like he's out there being intentional about helping people. And that's just fantabulous, my word for the day. But he's going to be remembered as someone that slid across home plate, bumped and bruised, went through a lot of ups and downs, but he contributed to this world and he made it a better place. And when you're starting a conversation with them, like really know that person even before you lean into the conversation. Like be perceptive, really, like Andy Andrews would say, really lean in and be perceptive, like really pick up on everything, the whole vibe. That's what my good friend Ron does. And if you haven't noticed, he's slowed me down. Usually I am booming right now when I do the end here. And it's something that I had so many teachable moments today. And that's what Ron does in spades, man. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's earned his varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine Today. He's a handsome bugger. And I can't wait to hopefully collaborate and rock the stage with him, Ron. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Scott, thank you, man. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you. Bye now.